As I packed my things, Sandy confronted me. "Dave, why didn't you come to my wedding rehearsal? Mom is really mad at you," she asked. I paused briefly before replying, "Where is your mom now?" "She took my biological father to the motel," Sandy said. The realization hit her slowly as she understood I was leaving because her mother had betrayed me. "Dave, where have you been? Why didn't you show up for my wedding rehearsal? Mom tried to call you 6 times. She's really mad at you. And where exactly is your mother?" "She just left to take my father, well, my biological father, to his motel." I didn't miss how Sandy's eyes darted away from me when she said that. I continued what I was doing before my stepdaughter arrived, which was taking my certificate of appreciation off the hallway wall. "What are you doing, Dave?" "Mom cleaned all these frames about 6 weeks ago." I barely paid attention to her and took the framed certificate to the kitchen. Sandy followed me and watched as I wrapped it in bubble wrap before packing it into an already loaded box. She turned around, the skirt of her dress swirling around her for a moment. This sight took me back to one of the hundreds of dance recitals I attended in her childhood. Only now, she wasn't dancing for Daddy but hurrying back to the living room. I followed her immediately, carrying the packed box. Sandy's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish. I could see that she had just noticed that all the wall decorations, which were exclusively mine, had disappeared from the walls, along with my souvenirs from the shelves. And if she checked, all my clothes from the wardrobe and tools from the garage were gone too. I went out the front door and was packing the box into the back seat of my car when I felt Sandy follow me and stand watching. She spoke in a quiet voice, a voice that trembled with the shock of what she was seeing, an event she had never even considered before. "Are you leaving us?" "Yes, you finally noticed. I've been moving my things out for 4 days, but neither your mom nor you noticed. That should tell you something, shouldn't it?" "I'm sorry, Dad, Dave, I've been a little preoccupied with the wedding." "You will come, won't you?" "No, I won't. I thought my absence from the rehearsal tonight would tell you that." "But why, Dad?" "Oh, I'm Dad again? How wonderful, isn't it? You stopped calling me that 3 weeks ago, remember?" Sandy flinched, wrapping her arms around herself, and my old instincts kicked in. "You'd better go back inside. It's cold out here. I'll call Mom first." "You can try, but I suspect her phone will be off." I went back into the house, to the living room, and sat on the couch. I heard Sandy talking on the phone, clearly leaving a voicemail for Mom to call her urgently. Then she plopped into one of the soft chairs. It seemed to swallow her tiny frame. I waited for her to gather her thoughts and start the conversation. From the look on her face, I guess she didn't know where to begin. Finally, she asked, "Why won't you come to my wedding? You see, you already have the clues." No. From the look of confusion on her face, I could see that the extreme selfishness common to many brides had completely blinded my stepdaughter. This saddened me. I hadn't thought she was capable of such self-centeredness. I mentally shook myself. I was in a hurry to move on. I didn't have time for this, so I took charge of the conversation. "Sandy, I've loved you since I first met you when you were a chubby 2-year-old with perpetually dirty fingers. I still love you, and depending on how things go, I may very well love you forever." I paused to determine the best way to continue, then decided to follow the format I used in the letter in my pocket informing Sandy and her mother that I was leaving them. "When I met your mom, she had just been abandoned by your biological father. We've told you this story often enough. He was a drunk, and after your mom caught him with another woman for the second time, she threatened to leave him if he didn't change. Instead, he got up and left you both. He abandoned you." I paused to allow Sandy to say something. She didn't. She just stared at me. "Shortly after that, your mom lost the house because she couldn't afford the rent. We met, fell in love, got married, and moved into this house with my 2 sons, Mike and Richard. Since our old house was gone, I needed to help you. Anyway, I digress. I loved your mom, and I loved you. I loved you as if you were my own daughter, just as I loved my biological children. I never hesitated to take responsibility for raising you. I thought I had lost all that a month ago." Sandy must have heard the tremor in my voice during that last sentence. It brought her back from wherever she had been. "You were, Dad, you were the best father a girl could have. Many of my friends envied me. They couldn't believe it when I told them you were just my stepfather." She stopped, covering her mouth with her hand, slightly shaken by her own words. She realized within about 2 seconds what had happened to me over the past month. "I liked the guy you chose as your life partner, and he was the proudest person in the world when you asked me to walk you down the aisle." I paused again to see where this conversation would start to sink into her head. I could clearly see when most of it finally hit her. She looked away again. "Yes, Sandy, you never withdrew the invitation for me to walk you down the aisle, did you? But then your biological father came back into the picture, and poof, I'm out. He's all yours and you're in your mother's minds and conversations. I'm yesterday's hero. Did you know that she was so inattentive that she didn't even realize I never bought the suit for tomorrow, as she asked me to?" I watched again as Sandy tried to decide which of the issues I raised to address first.